Hi, Melissa, are you there? Um, I have your presentation, but do you want to share the screen yourself and do the presentation?
I was planning on it.
Okay, I will make you I'm going to turn off your video until the meeting begins and you come up, and then I will make you a co-host so you can share your screen, okay?
Sounds good.
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Doug.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mayor, we are live and recording.
Okay. Call this council work session to order Wednesday, May 19th. The time is 1 p.m. I will open it up for visitor comments.
And do you have a comment from BSA Unit 106, Nicole, that would like to speak?
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole. I'm representing the Scouts BSA Unit 106 of St. Helens. I have prepared a letter that I would like to share with you all. And then if we have questions afterwards, that would be great. So I'm here on behalf of our unit to seek assistance from our city of St. Helens to bridge the gap in funding required to service our community during Halloween Town. Total cost of participation for us would be $2,300, and we are only able to come up with $500. Therefore, the amount we are seeking assistance with is for $1,800. These fundraiser events are crucial in keeping our unit alive. We are better able to help those scouts that may not have enough funds to go to camp, register for membership, or get camping supplies. Our scouts have been participating in this event for the past few years. The first year, we were not fully prepared for the volume of projected sales and were not in the correct placement to gain substantial earnings. Our second year, last year, we were just a little over our cost and earnings due to low volume of visitors. This year, we believe that we will be able to make back the total cost as anticipated, that we should see a larger crowd. Our scouts have worked very hard to earn enough funds to purchase a new trailer for this year. This trailer was bought as a shell, and the kids have created a nice full-size trailer with a window and lights, as well as electricity, so that we no longer have to be hit by the cold winds and wet rains and losing our tarps. So why are we asking this of our city? Our scouts participate in local service projects that not only serve our community people, but help keep our parks looking beautiful. Every December, our scouts go door to door collecting food for the food bank. We also participated in the first annual Christmas parade, collecting for the food bank as well. Each Christmas Eve, our scouts prepare and deliver on average about 600 hot meals to families, as well as donated gifts for the children of those families in our community in need of help. Every Memorial Day, our scouts set out flags for veterans who have passed so that their families can see our respect and gratitude for their loved ones. When participating in community events such as vending, we are showing visitors that our city supports our local scouts, which in turn makes St. Helens appear in a brighter light. Our scouts learn many beneficial aspects of customer service. I've seen many of our scouts develop skills in math and speech due to their abilities to make change, talk with customers, learn about the value of cost versus profit, being responsible leaders, and working with one another. We'd like to continue letting our Scout unit participate in this event. We believe that by helping us close this financial gap, that you are investing in the future of Scouting. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes. Any counselors have any questions?
Rick, are the Scouts considered a nonprofit organization?
Yes, we are.
I was quite impressed with the presentation. But well done, very nice letter. And I really like what you're doing in our community. Specifically, could you tell us what you're doing in the parks, just for my reference, so that I can at some time give you credit for what you're doing, like we do our other service groups?
Oh, well, like this year we helped when they have service projects in the park. So like Nob Hill, we help them clear the the weeds that are growing along the trail, or planting new trees in. I know that every year we try to do something, as you know, and last year I didn't think they had a lot of service projects, but I know that we try to get out every year. We also helped, they had an event to get the square flowered and looking nice. I know some of us participated in that. So things like that.
Oh, that's great. So, hey, we're having a cleanup. The parks people are having a cleanup down in the botanical gardens this Saturday from 9 to noon. And put that, just kind of tell some of your fellow scout individuals that that's going on, and maybe we'll see you. Okay.
Yeah, I think Emily reached out to me on that one, but we have Cubs going on. They're doing a pack hike on Saturday. So we weren't available for that one.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'll keep you in the loop. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Council Berkeley, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank Nicole for her work. Eagle Scout here with Troop 163 in Milwaukee,
nice.
Wisconsin, and Cheyenne, Wyoming, going back a few years ago. So really appreciate the work you're doing, and I know that's scouting.
Yeah, we've got 3 eagling this year. So that's,
so congratulations. Very, very beneficial. I guess I'm hearing you. There seems to be a lot of background information that I'm not quite sure about what the arrangement is, and I don't want to be. So I guess I'm just wondering, Mayor, too, if this is I don't know. I don't want to just put you off, Nicole, but I think maybe there's some more information that would be useful to me and council members to understand just, what your relationship is and how that is with Halloween Town and that sort of thing, to give us some more background on being able to consider your request.
I could fill you in a little bit, just from listening to Nicole's presentation and kind of knowing a little bit more behind the scenes. So her first year, they were not set up quite correctly, and the location probably wasn't the greatest, but they were able to get some funds. And then last year, with the limited amount of people, they were barely able to break even. What I hear her saying is this year, if we were to help them, they would probably not be returning next year because there will be enough participants as anticipated with the COVID regulations lessening up, that Halloween Town will be going the full 5 or 6 weekends. And it costs that amount of money for any nonprofit to set up for the entire event, Councilor Berkeley. So she's asking for a sponsored donation, and then hopefully they'd be sustainable after this year.
correct.
So that you have a connection with you're a sponsor of or contracted with the
vendor.
You're a vendor.
Or a vendor.
Mhm.
So
Right.
you're a vendor that you get your license through this. So I get just what is the process for becoming a vendor for this event, and how is that? Well, I don't know that.
Well, I know Tina might be able to explain a little bit more on that. But basically, we have to sign a contract and pay the fee that they have decided would be the fee for vending down there.
Yeah, and I think it's 6 or 7 weekends this year.
Yeah, it would cover the whole event. So yeah.
Yeah. Which
And July 4th, I believe.
and July 4th.
Yeah, they're going to be including that into the Halloween Town. The people who have paid for their vending permits for Halloween Town will be able to also do July 4th.
Okay, that's new to me, because we are in the process of actually turning over July 4th to, unless those funds are going towards fireworks. Just curious what's going on there. I'll figure that out. So,
Yeah, that would be more of a question for Tina's in charge of that.
Yeah, no concern of yours, but thank you for the heads up. So we don't typically vote on stuff like this till the evening session, because that's just what we decided as a council.
Okay.
So you're more than welcome to come back in if you want to this evening. You don't have to, because we'll put it on our agenda, but you're more
I
than
could
welcome.
do that if you had any further questions or anything. Yeah.
Okay, I would yeah, encourage maybe even maybe a couple kids just to show up and have some visitor comments. It'd be, I like what you guys do. I guess, you teach them about civics and I think it's a big part of.
Yeah, you actually came and presented for us one time. I think it was a few years ago. Yeah, at the Armory.
Yeah. So, but you don't have to, but this evening we will be talking further about this. Any other questions for her before we let her go? Nope, I'm not seeing any. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you guys so much for hearing
Yep.
me. And
Yeah.
is it the same link for this evening?
No, it'll be a different link. And do you want to
Okay.
write it down right now?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. It's going to be 937
Mm-hmm.
280 55376. And go ahead and repeat that to
Okay.
me.
937-280-55376.
That's correct.
Okay. I will
All right.
see you guys later. Thank you so much
Okay.
for your time.
Yep. All right. I see Brady's got his hands raised. If you want to make a comment, please raise your hand and we'll get to you. So let's go ahead and let Brady unmute himself.
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I just wanted to respond to Councillor Chilton's comments from May 5th, where she said she was being bullied. First would be, if you can't take the heat, you should not run for public office. That is part of what the job is. And I specifically want to address that I did not make fun of your last name. I asked you what your last name is. You created a page that said Jessica Chilton for City Council and then kept posting as Jessica Fewer May. At first, I thought this was a different person and not just you being schizophrenic. I think one of the first things that you probably want to come up with when you decide to run for office is actually what name that you want to use. I then tried to call you at the number that you listed on your SEL Form 101, and it was disconnected, which of course is a felony, but who's keeping track of how many felonies you have? It's a fine punishable up to $125,000 and 5 years in prison. You then attended the city council item with an agenda item titled "The Dismissal or Discipline of a Public Officer," and said you were blindsided when Topaz was asked to resign. Really? If you had read the city charter, you would know that the only way to remove a city council is for him to resign. So if you read the agenda and you know what's going on, then you would have understood what is going to happen there. And if you didn't understand what was happening, you should ask a friend. I also don't really appreciate the little Scarlett O'Hara routine of I just rely on people being kind to me when you've been a blatant bully online. Both to our tourism director and to other city staff, you lied and you misrepresented information and continued to do so even after you were given correct information. Oh, and by the way, I don't think I mentioned softball. Did I mention softball? Because guess what? I'm not concerned about softball. This does bring me to the point of Steve Topaz and having him evaluated for diminished capacity, which is the only way you can actually remove him from office besides asking him to resign. At the work session that you had when you discussed the disciplinary on May 10th, 20 seconds after the meeting ended, Mr. Topaz answered a phone call with a live video and audio link where he says, oh, the meeting just ended and boy, did they put their foot in it. If saying that with a live link is not a sign of diminished capacity, I don't know what is. I guess he could just be dumb and have done it, but whatever. I think it's a sign of diminished capacity. This comment also makes it clear to me that he has absolutely no contrition for his actions and actually enjoys trying to make the rest of the city council look like fools. It is far past time for the city to take action against Mr. Topaz and have all the city councilors return your keys, make John Walsh the single point of contact, and require everyone, including Mr. Topaz, to have an appointment before coming to the city to do anything. I would also like to know where is the code enforcement department. St. Helens has a lot of retail space, and Mr. Topaz, as well as others, are living in commercial buildings that are eyesores. If you don't have ordinance to address these issues, you should develop one. Finally, I want you to urge you to allow the people of the St. Helens to vote on building a police station. I think it's criminal that you can get around having to get voter approval to spend $25 million. Why don't you just fund everything that way? If you want to clean up the lagoon, just add a $25 fee to your water bill. You want to fund the Riverfront? Tack on another $30. The Boy Scouts want money? Add a couple more bucks for them. Want to build a police station? What's another $10? Why bother with us pesky citizens that elect you and pay for everything when all you have to do is tack on a bill on your water bill? We should have a voice in the process. That voice is being voted and voting for this police station. I voted for a majority of the city council. Let me assure you, I will not make that mistake again if you go forward with a police station without getting a vote of the people. And I really do not even see how this process is legal, and would remind you that Agnes Peterson is not the only person who knows how to file a lawsuit against the city. Thanks.
Okay. Any other visitor comments? If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand.
Mayor Kathy Payne would like to read a comment from Ginny Carlson.
Okay.
Okay, this is an email I got from Jenny that she wanted to me to read into the record. I would like to thank all the public employees for perseverance through the past year. I appreciate all you do, even more as a citizen, from the police patrols I am seeing all around town. Public Works and Parks, I don't get a chance to call in before you have fixed the issues. Call me impressed. To all the folks at admin and library, they have been so helpful during the COVID with my questions. You all deserve a positive and safe work environment, free of harassment and intimidation. I sincerely hope this council has the courage to make changes, not just for you, but for all its citizens, so you can focus on your jobs. To the council, do not forget your oath to the citizens, not just your friends or those who agree with you, but to all. Please remember, we are all vested tax-paying, rate-paying customers, and ultimately you owe it to us. Not everyone will write a letter or make public comments, but I can't stay silent while our leadership is sitting by as long as they get their way on their pet issues, not caring about the future of the whole community. Please take actions that protect the cities and its citizens' assets before it's too late.
Okay. Any other visitor comments? Would just like to make a statement for the record that Councilor Topaz apparently emailed us last night at 5:15, wanting me to read a public comment for him, and that's not something we do, Councilor Topaz, for one another. We do have our ability to step in and speak our voice later. So if you'd like to speak on behalf of yourself, you can feel free to. I guess I could allow you now, but if I wouldn't have looked at my emails that was sent at 5:15 and you tagged everybody in it as of last night, I would know nothing about this. So a little heads up or a phone call. My phone's always on. I just looked at my emails prior to this meeting, and that is not something we do unless it is submitted through you're here. If you can't attend, that's why we submit emails to be written or read, is because the person cannot be here. I just want to make that clear. So I do not want to hear that I did not read his public comment. You can come in later in your report if you'd like to speak now on whatever you give me, because I couldn't make sense of what you really wanted me to read. Go ahead.
I was planning to read that this evening. I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's what I wanted to read this evening. So you've understood everything. Thank you.
But you did ask me to read it in that email.
No,
which was
no, I did
confusing.
not. I asked you to read it so you understood what I was going to say, not to be.
Oh,
read
okay.
publicly.
Okay,
That's what the words meant.
okay. Any other visitor comments? I'm not seeing any. So we'll go on to our first item on the agenda, which is an annual report from the library board. Melissa.
I tried to speak.
Oh, you got some feedback there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can.
Okay.
Melissa, you should have co-hosting abilities now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak today on behalf of the St. Helens Public Library. My name is Melissa Gilburn Magi, and I am the current chair and have proudly been on the library board for over 5 years. As you can see, I'm in good company. I am also on the interview subcommittee, and we are currently interviewing for more members. Beyond the joys of simply being allowed to be part of the city library process, we have some responsibilities, just a few, as of keeping informed of current trends, studying library growth, developing long-range plans, recommending services, participating in the annual budget process, and recommending policies and procedures. You will notice the purple stars in the upper right corner. I've put them there throughout the presentation, and when the subject matter meets one of these responsibilities, you will see them. Here are more of our responsibilities, such as reviewing and recommending terms, encouraging widespread public support and use of the library, submitting the annual report to the City Council, and performing other duties. So keep your eyes out for the purple stars, as we will see what the library has been up to. Some not as flashy but important things that we as a board have been able to do are change the library municipal code in tone and verbiage to reflect what we actually do, update our interview questions to be more open-ended and encourage better feedback and have a more interactive experience, currently advising on possibly changing our residential renewal period from 1 year to 2 years as a matter of patron convenience. And at the beginning of 2020, we had to be in compliance with House Bill 2243, but thankfully the only thing we had to do was make sure our policies were available online. Obviously, the big issue this past year has been the pandemic. And I feel the library has done a wonderful job of handling it with grace, patience, and as you can see, a little humor. We have adapted our services, and our library pickup window has been a great success with over 2,900 window transactions to date. The library is currently offering small batch in-person service again, and the staff continues to run 2 points of service so that the patrons can use the library at their comfort level. Another way the library has stayed connected during the pandemic is our Facebook, with Take and Make Kits to Go and children's story time with Gretchen videos, which of course has got tons of views. You can still be part of a library group, even during social distancing, online with the photo club and the genial genealogists who meet through Google. Our Facebook has been a great wealth of information and fun, with plenty of content keeping us connected while we are socially distant. Book bundles, celebrating national days, and Feature Fridays, to name just a few. Our most popular post was the cat who likes to sit on the library roof. We had over 11,000 reactions, which proves once again that there is just something about cats and the internet. We have had many free activities that allows us to continue to provide services, stay current, and remind the community that we are here for them even during social distancing. We have found a great community partner in the St. Helens Recreation Program, and that allows us to double our efforts. Having free outside activities are super important, not only during social distancing, but to show the community that the library is more than a building where the books are kept. We are grateful to the City Parks Division for their help with our story stroll. These are available to anyone who utilizes the park, not just library card holders. A great reminder to anyone in the park that the library is alive and well. And what kind of library board would we be if we did not participate in Halloween, my personal favorite holiday? This last year, with the event being a drive-through event, it went wonderfully well. As you can see, our theme was Harry Potter. And speaking of magical people, we are all very proud of our youth librarian, Gretchen, who shared the honor of the city's Employee of the Year award. And magical people need magical space. We are very proud of the renovation of the old unused storage space into the new maker space. This will be a shining example of how our library is changing to meet the needs of the community and the future. With the official ribbon cutting ceremony in October, the maker space will be a perfect place for STEM programs and equipment. And thankfully, we already have some grant funds that get the new space up and running with all sorts of fun equipment. We have a fantastic staff and board that are truly excited about the future of this program and the role the library will play in the future of the community. Here is some fun equipment that we already have and our patrons can check out, because as I have mentioned before, the library is more than just books, and the STEM grant will help us to add to our library of things. But of course, the future of this ever-changing and adapting library of books and programs and things need people to check them out. We are constantly looking for new ways to increase membership, and in doing so, adapting the way people use their library cards, such as digital-only library cards for those who like their books on their Kindles or use our abundant online content, such as Ancestry.com or digital magazines. And quarterly library cards, very popular with families whose children use the school libraries most of the year or the snowbird population. And last but not least, something just for fun. Here are the latest pictures of our newly painted return drop boxes. We are thankful to our local artist, Tony Doggett, who made our boring metal bins look lively and fun. Thank you for listening to my report and for your continued support of the St. Helens Public Library.
All right, thank you, Maggie. 9,200 and some odd window visits, almost
Yes.
10,000. That's pretty good.
And still going.
Yes. And then I also had to inquire about the cat on the roof. So I'm guilty. Yeah, any questions for Maggie? Any compliments? Just good job on your guys.
Rick, one of the things that the library has had to do, they probably have had to play more ping pong games with the state's regulations on who can come and who can't and all that, because of the number of, or the size of the public group having to deal with the library. They're magicians going through paperwork with the state. I mean, as everybody else is, it's absolutely frustrating. They've done quite a job of keeping track of what's going on. And that part you don't see. You just see when you come to the window that you can still do your thing. So, and that they need a bureaucratic pat on the back.
I agree.
having been on the board, the library board, and then being kicked off because leaving because being elected to this position, and even before being on the board, always impressed by the staff and the board members and everything that we do. My wife and I, when we moved here with our kids, and we're looking for a community to settle down in, we're so impressed that St. Helens had a city library. And even during the economic downturn of 10 years ago and recently, while the number of hours and days and hours has been reduced and then increased, I think it says an awful lot to our community, or that our community, I don't think ever seriously considered closing the library, as has happened in some communities in our state. And I just think that's one of the things that will having the library, and not only as a resource for books, but the library of things, our makerspace, is going to continue to be a powerful incentive for people to come live in our community and invest in our community. And I'm optimistic that will pay off dividends for the expansion of our library facility and staff and services in the future. So great presentation. Thanks, Melissa.
Rick, a comment on the library. Classically, a library is a place you shove books and dust it off bookshelves. When you see all the different ways that the library staff communicates and teaches people to communicate to the rest of the world through computers, through makerspace, through form filling electronically, for teaching people how to use the computers. Somehow the word library is almost too small. It's basically a information connection to the world center. It's changing every day, and you wonder, how the technology is kept up with by our workers there, because they have to deal with the public, which is a game to itself. The fact that the building is a public building, they have to deal with things that public buildings have to deal with. There are a multifaceted staff, not just book handlers or people who punch cards. I mean, it's really quite a job. We saw a very nice presentation, basically, of the book handling, but you really have to take a tour of a day or two to see everything that library staff does. It's just, and it's changing as the world is changing. And information, as you know, is becoming the heavyweight to make it go forward.
Council President.
Could I follow up on Councilor Topaz? And not only that, Councilor Topaz, well-spoken. And what I really appreciate is the cultural hub that the library represents. And it's a wonderful icon for our community, and it reaches out to so many aspects of our culture, and does that very well. So I just wanted to follow up with that in terms of that appreciation.
Okay. All right, Melissa, thank you for being of service to our community. Let the rest of the board know. Thank you from the entire city council, okay?
Thank you. Will do.
And great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So our next item on the agenda is discuss reappointing Councilor Berkeley to the Columbia Learning Center Board of Directors. I thought we already did that. I thought we already did that.
But there was only a short time left on the appointment.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was so unanimous that, it's going to be a very quick discussion anyway.
I don't think we're going to kick you off right yet, Councilor Berkeley, on this one. I think we realize that you're a good fit. You were part of it years ago, and it seemed like the right fit. Anybody disagree with that? No.
Okay. Well, so thank you. Yes, and the round table or the Columbia Learning Center board is postponing their black tie and blue jeans until next year. But even with that, is going to be distributing thousands of dollars of scholarships this year to this graduates as well. So the work continues. I haven't done anything yet, but I am looking for, thank you. I hope to be able to participate in this for next year with black tie and blue jeans and continuing efforts. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, I'm getting feedback from somebody's device. If you can mute yourself, if you have background noise, we are picking it up, just so you know.
Unfortunately, I could only see Patrick.
Okay.
So it might have been his computer if it was having something going off.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I think we kind of unanimously, you're our man for the Columbia Learning Center board.
Can you make an official motion tonight at the work or the regular session?
We sure can.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, next item on the agenda is review proposed amendment to library assistant job description. Margaret.
Yes.
Hi, Margaret.
Hi. Thank you for all the kind words about the library. And I also would like to thank Melissa for a fine presentation on behalf of the entire board. The reason I'm here today is to propose a revision to the job description for library assistant. It was last revised 2 years ago in order to include the duties of library board secretary. And prior to that, it was last revised 5 years ago. My plan, once the job description is officially updated, is to then have the salary schedule for this job reviewed and hopefully take into consideration the extent of the duties that are performed by these individuals and look at the value of that job, particularly in light of the upcoming increases to the minimum wage. This position is really feeling some pressure from below by the increases in the minimum wage. And what I hope to describe to you today is why, when you see I hope, a future proposal for revision of the salary schedule, that you'll understand after my presentation why the nature of this job has changed so much. I know many of us think of library assistants as the individuals who check in and check out and shelve books using the Dewey Decimal System. And they still do that. That's very much important and essential part of their job. They're also the people with whom our visitors from the community make their first contact. That means they have to have exceptional customer service skills. They have to be well-versed in the services and resources of the library so they can direct people that come to the front window or desk. And they also, as you might imagine in the world that we live in, that there are a lot of issues that are presented to the first person or community encounters in the library that may relate to the safety of individuals, the safety of equipment, or the safety of the building. And so you might really think of them as that in that first contact position and the importance that plays in a large public building. But the other thing is, as you saw in Melissa's presentation, as the resources and the services of the library expand, the skill set of everyone on the staff, including the library assistants, has to be enlarged. We have a bank of public computers, and many of our patrons come into the library with no real knowledge of common software applications. They know what they want to do on the computer, but they don't know how to do it. And our library assistants are very much involved in providing that assistance at the public computers. Additionally, we have a lot of digital services, as you heard about, digital magazines, downloadable music, ebooks, e-audio books, databases. People come to us with their phone or their tablet and they say, how can I do that on my device? So it isn't just a matter of knowing about the service. It means you have to have some familiarity with their device and how to make our services work on their device. Oftentimes, it's our library assistants at the front desk that give that service. Our growing library of things also requires assistance. People will come to check out something like a hotspot or a 3D pen or an OzoBot, and they need a little bit in the way of directions for how to make those things work. In this pandemic year, we really increased our social media presence because that was one of the ways we had to connect with our patrons. And our library assistants also were an active part of creating that social media content. They created instructional videos showing people how to sign up for a digital library card, showed them how to do things online with the library catalog, how to access different library services using these instructional videos, because we know many of our patrons were only going to be interacting with us remotely. So the skill set for those kinds of being able to create those kinds of resources are clearly very technically based. They also create digital graphic displays for our digital flat screen. And one of our library assistants is also the volunteer coordinator, and they screen, interview and screen and train our volunteers in book processing, book repair, and shelving. So, and then one last thing I really want to highlight, because this really has really, I think, revealed the depth of skill that our library assistants have. If you work in a library, you probably like to read. I mean, we kind of expect that that comes with the territory. The people that are drawn to working here are typically people who read broadly. But you have to be able to take your interest in current literature and apply that to a patron's need. It isn't, I mean, it's very common for a patron to come up and say, I really like author X and I've read everything that they've written. What will I like next? What other authors can you recommend? During the pandemic, our patrons could not come in and browse the new books. And we have people who stand in front of the new bookshelves and read the covers and read the back flap, the flaps in the back cover to figure out if they want to check out that book. They always did ask for our assistance, but during the pandemic, when you couldn't come in and browse, you had to rely on the staff to help you make new selections. And we had patrons who said, well, so-and-so knows what I like to read, have them recommend for me some books and I'll just come and pick them up. And it was real reassuring to find out how well they knew current literature, what the library had on hand, and what these patrons like to read. And we use that information anyway to influence what we buy, but it's also nice to see that our library assistants can make that connection between what a patron is interested in and what we have to offer. So I just want you to look forward to this update of the job description, an update of the salary schedule, and then when those two items are complete, we will post the open position that we've had in our budget all year for another library assistant, but did not fill because with our closure, we didn't feel that it was warranted to add that position during that time. But now that we're starting to open up and restore a lot of our services and have the public coming in, the need for that additional library assistant is very apparent to us. Thank you for your time. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Look forward to seeing the update on that. Okay, our next item on the agenda, discussion regarding public safety facility funding plan. Matt.
Greetings. I'm going to ask Chief Greenway to join us as well. If he's available. All right, I will go ahead and get started. So you should see a PowerPoint presentation on my screen. Feel free to interject at any time. Myself, John, as well as Brian are available for any questions that you may have as council. Just a quick timeline update. I know most of you have seen this information, but for those that are watching that have not been keeping in touch, we've obviously been working on a new public safety facility for quite a while now. We still have a number of items on the to-do list to when we get to that ribbon cutting ceremony in the future. So just a quick timeline for you to review. This is a monthly rate comparison that all of you should be familiar with. This is what we have shown during our public presentations with the 4 options of a 20-year and a 30-year option, the general obligation bond, and then the public safety fund ascertained the utility fee that would potentially be $6 to $11.50. So this is what we have been telling the public since the beginning. If you recall, I went through at one of our previous meetings of a comparison of a utility rate bill for a family of 4 on a monthly billing on a number of cities that are around us regionally and locally, just to show you where we are at currently with our utility rate system. So that should not be a new slide here. And we wanted to also bring up the idea that we've discussed before of dedicating revenue from some of our other sources in the city. So a couple sources, just so you're aware that staff is looking at internally and it is part of this funding plan that we are putting together for the city council. A couple of those revenues are currently in our community development fund and our community enhancement fund. So we have the ACSP mortgage from when we sold the piece of property to ACSP. So that mortgage payment is about $155,000 per year. Staff is showing that in the recommendation funding plan to dedicate that revenue towards the new public safety facility. In addition to the mortgage, that the company also pays a police and public benefit fund. Right now, that is about $36,000 per year. As they grow their business, as they grow their production capabilities, that number increases. That's why you see $36,000 plus. That $36,000 is what they pay currently, but that could exponentially grow if the company grows as we hope it does. There are 3 items that are currently budgeted in our general fund. Those are the cannabis taxes, the state alcohol taxes, and the cigarette taxes, often referred to as the sin taxes. So in our funding plan, we are dedicating those revenue sources towards the public safety facility to help pay down the debt service payment. I want to also note for the city council, and we'll have future discussions about this, but these revenue items it's not like we have a plethora of revenue going around. So when we take revenue away from something, we often have to supplement it in other ways. So it's definitely a pretty decent hit for the general fund as far as revenue capabilities, but we've talked about it among staff and departments, what that looks like, how we will supplement it in the future and work towards some more strategic planning and any kind of hiring practices for a lot of the departments that are in the general fund. So a couple other revenue one-time ideas that to keep in mind. We have talked about the selling of the Millard Road property. Potentially, the city council could dedicate some of that revenue towards the public safety facility if it chooses to. Also, part of the recommendation from the committee was to, once this new public safety facility is built, that we would sell the police station that they are currently set in. We also talked about selling other potential properties. We've gone through a list a while back of owners of property that the city owned that we are looking at currently selling. So the city council gave myself and John authorization to start working on those. And we have a number of avenues that we're working on right now to look at selling some of the property that we have. There are always potential grants that may come available that we will continue to look at. Those are unknown at this time. And then any other potential revenue ideas, that's kind of the unknown that may come up during that time. So I'm going to show a couple slides here, and they are very mathematical heavy and lots of graphs and numbers. So allow me to please walk you through this. And then I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. So this presentation was given to the ad hoc committee a few weeks ago. They did make a recommendation of this model that you see here, which is the 30-year option model. We are suggesting a funding plan that is interest-only payments for the first 3 years. That allows us to get moving on the project, reduce the amount of payments in the beginning, and then have steady payments for the remainder of the loan. You can see here that interest-only payment for the first year is $280,000. That's because we're getting the revenue most of the way through the year. This is a hypothetical situation. If we were to get the money in September or October, that would be the first payment. Years 2 and 3 for interest-only payments would be the $660,000, and then years 4 through 30 would be $940,000 per year. Over the entire 30-year term, the total cost of the debt service is $27.8 million. So that includes the interest. So what you see here in the black lines are the amounts of those payments each year. Okay, so that's the amount that the city has to pay. We are taking off or removing those dedicated revenues to help pay for that debt service. So we have the 190 from ACSP, that includes the mortgage and the additional payments, cigarette tax, cannabis tax, alcohol tax. So those are shown as minuses because we're dedicating that revenue to the payments, okay? As you'll note, in the first few years, we're making smaller payments, but we are still dedicating that revenue. So you see a remainder balance of a negative $409,000. That means that the fund that you guys will set up would have a balance of $409,000 this year, okay? Based on the number of EDUs, we talked about doing an estimated dwelling unit. We are showing that you could negatively charge $4.49 because we don't need any money because we've already collected enough to make this $276,000 payment. Staff is suggesting that we still start and collect the $2 per month in this model is what it works out to can have that a consistent monthly payment amount for the amount. So that $2 will bring in roughly what the potential amount shown here is $183,000, $185,000, $188,000, $190,000. Okay, so that's how much that $2 brings in every single year. The $182,000 plus the $409,000 balance is where we get at the end of year 1. That fund will have a balance of $592,000, okay? So over the course of the 3 years of interest-only payments, we are collecting more than we needed on purpose to save up for those funds. When we get to the normal payment schedule of years 4 through 30, that's when we have to make the larger payments. That's when we start using that fund balance to supplement the $2 fee that we're collecting. Okay, so that's why you see the fund balance slowly kind of going down year after year. In short, in essence, 30-year model will amount to a $2 utility service monthly bill. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this.
This is exactly what we wanted to see. What I wanted to see was this scenario is easy to explain to citizens of that, you know, and I think, wow, $2, you guys really did your homework. Staff really did their homework is what I can say.
I think that we're in a very good position with the community because obviously we've been telling them $6 to $11, and to come back with an option of $2, I think is very extraordinary.
And they're used to paying $2 right now with the rec fee.
that will work into the timeline of when this fee starts. One
Yep.
idea that John and I
Just
have
roll.
discussed is when that one comes off, this one comes on, and we're not increasing any kind of payments for anybody. That $2 rec fee goes off, this $2 police public safety facility goes on.
So,
Go ahead, Doug.
okay, so the whole idea, just to repeat it so everyone understands this who's listening, is that rec fee was to go for 2 years and then sunset itself at a certain time. So this dovetails into, it does, just so everyone knows that the rec fee is sunsetted, and
Yes.
the $2 will not be going for rec. It will be going, it will be the total charge for the police station. And so I just wanted an understanding about that, and to make certain that our citizens understand that very clearly.
And I think a good supplement to this, just in the fund itself, would be the sale of the police station, just to make sure that that current $2 fee stays accurate. Add it to the debt. Did you add
Right.
that in already?
Yeah, so those one-time revenues are not included in here.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying.
it kind of
So-
adds to the safety.
Yes, so that would assure that it would be $2, because we could drag that out, the sale of the police station property over the 30-year.
Correct. Now, I do want to preface when you say for sure, this is based on ACSP.
Yep.
And them staying current and them staying in business and hopefully growing, but we're not
Yep.
showing any of that growth, okay? This also assumes that the state revenue sharing, cigarette tax, cannabis, and alcohol tax do not change over time drastically. They're
So
going to
if,
increase in flux and stuff, but if something were to happen and the state were to say, you're not getting any more alcohol tax, well, that's 255 grand that we've dedicated that we could not get. So nothing is set in stone, but with all the information that we have right now as staff, this is the best recommendation that we can say for moving forward.
I have a question.
Matt, and I would say on those taxes, we've been currently getting those for a number of years.
Correct.
The most recent would be cannabis tax, but the alcohol tax and cigarette tax for a long time, and it's been pretty consistent, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure.
I have a question. This is Doug Morton again. So is the interest rate, I didn't see what the interest rate was in the difference between a 20-year loan and a 30-year loan. What are these figures based on what interest rate?
They are roughly in the 3% range.
Wow. Thank you.
And that kind of also plays into the timeline. And I'm not looking to get into a timeline discussion at this meeting right now. I'm here to just kind of present what those numbers could be. But at a future meeting in June or July, we would like to come and talk to you about the timeline of events, because there's a lot of stuff still to do. And as you know, the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. So we will come back to you at probably a June or July meeting to discuss the timeline for RFQs for design services, then construction services, and all those kind of little steps. There's the resolution for actually starting the fee, and the timeline of when that goes on. There has been discussion of, if you want to build up that fund balance even more, do you start the fee in October or September, knowing that the rec fee is going to fall off in January, December. So there are lots of variables that we can discuss later, but we at least wanted to give you this information as best we can.
Matt, have you projected the cannabis tax that could potentially be going up through the state? Have you projected that into this?
This is using the previous year's estimates. There is currently some legislation, my understanding.
Yeah.
Rachel would have some more discussions about that as far as where it is in with legislation. But it could reduce the amount of cannabis, but allow cities to tack on an additional 7% to help fluctuate the drop in state revenue sharing, but we get more local. So my hope is that it all evens out in the end.
Yeah. Yep.
So at this point, the grow operation, marijuana The totals for that, I jotted that down off of the previous slide, I think, is nearly $200,000 a year. Is that correct?
Correct. That's represented here with the $191,000.
I get it.
And
Okay.
this is assuming no growth. So part of that 191,000 is this 36,000 public benefit and police benefit fund. That is based on how much production and facilities they have. If they continue to be successful, continue to grow, continue to expand, this number goes up exponentially with the number of buildings they have for production. So if they are successful, the city is more successful.
Well, I like what you, John, and Chief have come up with here, particularly probably you, knowing that I'm glad you took the bull by the horns and gave us something to start off of.
Well, it's definitely not all me. It's a team effort. And you also have the ad hoc committee that weighed in and gave a lot of suggestions and options. And so I'm not going to take at all the credit. I do want to show you a second option. So this was the second option that the ad hoc committee, this is a 20-year option, same model, same formula, same kind of characteristics that we talked about. The cost of the loan is $23.3 million for 20 years. That is $4.5 million less. To afford that 20-year payment, the $2 would increase to $4.25. So the ad hoc committee looked at these two options. They recommended the 30-year $2 option. So
it would be less painful for people. They're already used to it.
Correct. That's
but
part
man,
of it. Yep.
But 4.5 million is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I do want to also note that whenever we do a revenue bond like this, there is always an option, a call option after year 10. So at year 10 of the loan, we would have the option anytime after year 10, 12, 15, 20. If we have the money to pay it off, we can. Okay, so if you wanted to do a 30-year at the $2, and let's say a lot of this one-time revenue came in, ACSP grows, we're on track. Hey, you know what? We could pay it off at year 18 or 19. We could do that.
Okay.
In a 30-year option. Just because we take a 30-year loan doesn't mean we have to take 30 years to pay it off.
I know the finance director prior to you actually accomplished that. He paid off many loans that were out, and it evened everything out. Everything became a bit more understandable in terms of the budget.
I want to let Councilor Berkeley, did you want to interact?
Yes, I just wanted to I was going to ask the question, is this like a car loan that we can pay off early and then therefore save on the overall debt and loan interest and things like that? So this sounds like we do have that option. So there's a possibility of closing or even eliminating that $4.5 million gap between the 20 and 30-year options. So thank you. It's good to know that that's a possibility if we go with the 30.
And I just want to state that everybody knows that we are taking some of this money away from other areas in our general fund, but this is definitely doable, and it's highly needed in our, to serve our citizens. But it does take away from our general fund.
Yeah.
So if I could interact, and that is something I'm sure we will discuss later, and I would imagine Matt you'd be able to provide some specific projections about where for the 20, let's see, we're doing the 2021-22 budget, I guess. So for the 2022-23 budget, this is where we'd be looking at needing to make some decisions about replacing or supplementing the community development and general fund losses.
It could potentially be in this next fiscal year, depending on when you take out the debt service and when the loan starts, when the fee starts. It could change some of the budget that you're going to approve.
Okay,
So it could affect this next year's budget.
okay. Okay. And
We do
I'm
have-
confident you'll be able to, when we get that, you'll be able to show us where.
Yeah, I will show you where the cups move, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
So next steps would be to get some formal direction from you as a council on whether you would like city staff to move forward on a 20 or 30-year funding model. You have on tonight's the final reading and potential passing of the ordinance to create the public safety fund and the ability to place a public safety fee on utility bills. You are not, in the passing of that ordinance, I would just want to remind you that you are not passing any certain dollar amount. You're not saying when it's going to start or how it's going to be calculated. That comes later in a resolution that we would discuss with you at one of the future next steps. So that future next steps listed below, it's a little bit different than what's in your packet, but the timeline discussion is something we would like to have with you in June or July so that we can get going on things. You have the resolution for the public safety fee. On the timeline discussion, it's doing an RFQ for design services, an RFQ for construction, and then also having all of our bond attorneys and financial advisors create all the revenue bond documents that would need to be approved as well to go out for a bond.
Sure, I'd like to hear from Councilor Chilton and Topaz, actually, both.
Well, I mean, I'm impressed with the $2. I mean, that's definitely not where I thought it was going to go. So I'm impressed with that. I like the idea of the ad hoc committee's recommendation and just kind of still mulling it over a little bit, but good information. It's a lot to think about. So thanks, Matt.
Councilor Topaz?
We need the police station. It's gonna cost money. Do it. It's up to the financial boys to give us the best path.
Okay,
And
so,
we'll go with that. But let's not keep going on and all these little details. They've got to get done. They're a pain in the neck. Let's pay our money and get ourselves a police station.
so am I hearing
That's all
30
this
year?
thing.
Thir-
I'm up to what the financial people think is the best way to go, whether
The
the
ad-
20 or 30 years.
Yeah, the ad hoc committee recommended
Yeah,
the 30 year.
They're into it, I'm not. I know I need a police station and I know it's gonna cost money. And if I have to spend 2 cents, there's gonna be somebody against it. Tough. We
Okay,
need that police station.
yep. Okay, so I'm kind of hearing a census from the entire council, correct me if I'm wrong, in speaking that we are moving forward with directing staff to the 30-year funding model, correct?
That's correct from my point of view.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Just to formally, since we're not making, I just would like to request that we add this to the council work session voting items for tonight. That way you have enough time to receive any comments from public who are watching this now.
Yeah.
And you can make a direction to staff tonight via vote to make it a little more formal.
Sure,
Thanks.
but we just made it official.
I know, but I want it in writing and I want it in minutes.
All right. All right, Matt. Let's go on to our next item, utility billing administrative rules.
All right, I do have it up if you would like me to put it on the screen here.
Yeah, please do.
I can go through the changes that I made, also reviewing with staff. So one minor change was in section 1, changing the water service of Public Works going out from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. So it's 9 to 4 instead of 8:30 to 4. That was one change. The second change was the added paragraphs here regarding payment plans. Currently, we did not have any payment plans identified in our administrative rules. And the second paragraph deals with one of the probably more familiar situations with the city council of someone who didn't receive a bill or pay utilities for a length of time. We realized that, came back to them, and this will allow them to go into a payment plan status to repay those past usage. So this identifies that the utility billing department's supervisor, manager, or the city administrator has the ability to enter into a payment plan not to exceed 6 months.
And then along with that, is there any verbiage regarding interest, or is that basically interest-free?
It would be interest-free.
Excellent.
The other item on here was COVID related, and those are the extensions of payments. So this identifies January 20th of 2022 that all the balances would need to be paid current. If it is not paid current by that point, then they would be turned into the shut-off status. And around the January 20th timeframe is when our staff, utility billing staff and public works would begin that actual process of shutting off customers.
So you guys would be able to start giving notice right away and then get people on that six month plan as far as
Yes,
making payments.
absolutely.
Get caught up. Yeah.
There are notices that we can put on the bill statements, as well as doing call outs for those that are behind. And we can let them know that they have until January 2nd to make their account current.
Zero interest, just guess. Yes, I like it.
Correct.
So Matt, on shut off notices, is it, a day or two before the water absolutely gets shut off? Is there a post-it on their porch or on a leaflet of some sort that is hand given to those individuals where the communication may have fallen through the cracks somehow, some way?
Yeah, we do a number of situations when we get to that point. There is a call log that goes out to let people know that they are late on a payment. There are door hangers that we put on, and there are additional call outs before we go to the actual shut off dates that we do. So we do try and get a hold of people to give them time to let them know, hey, you're in a shut off status. Right now, that date for shut off is 5 days from now or 10 days from now when we do those calls. So they are notified when the potential shut off date could be. And
yeah, thank you for explaining that.
Yes, typically we try and do shut offs 1 or 2 days after we say that date to give people even more leeway in trying to get their payment current.
I have a problem with part of this, Matt. This is COVID-19. What happens if we have another attack of something? I'd like the name of COVID-19 into some emergency. So anytime we have an emergency like this, we can use this payment or this non-payment item. Because this only looks like it's only for this particular disease at this particular time. Because obviously you didn't know about this 4 years ago and put it in. And the way the world's going, what happens if we have something else? Can we kind of rename it that after this particular emergency, the date that you have to do something is?
That's what our federal government is for, and that's what grants are for, and that's what those kinds of issues should be put in place by our state and our federal government. I do believe, Steve. I don't think it's up to us to try to solve that problem.
Yeah, but if we could put instead of COVID-19, when the federal government says such and such, this item comes into play. I'm only worried about the fact that we use the word COVID-19 as a single item.
Yeah,
I would like to have
respond to that. Mary, you're right. That so actually, Matt and I did have that conversation almost verbatim, that concern, and the authority for, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see the payment plans is up higher in the code section there, and it has a shorter duration. The COVID related one is more of a long-term, known kind of thing, and that at some point will become irrelevant and probably removed. But that's was added on at the end of that just offered a little more flexibility for the people that needed it. So some of them have pretty good arrearages.
Yeah, I think Councilor Topaz, typically I try to at least review these administrative rules yearly, if not every 2 years, with our staff to make sure that we are encompassing any issues that have come up in that time. Through one of those updates in the future after this January 20th date, I would envision that in one of the updates of administrative rules, this would be taken off.
Okay, I was hoping it was going to stay in so we didn't have to go through this when something else hits us. That was my hope, was it would stay permanently with a more flexible federal government connected name.
Yeah, and again, I think that's what John was referencing above the above line, where actually gives the staff right there, payment plans, the ability to have that authority.
It does give general authority
Right.
to the utility billing supervisor and the city administrator to enter anybody into a payment plan agreement not to exceed 6 months. So if something were to come up, another pandemic in December, John or myself would have the authority to enter payment plans in for people if they needed that.
Okay, because that's you know, the way things are going, something's going to come up, and I just wanted to have it in place already rather than have to go through this again.
And I like the fact that it's the two of them, the supervisor and the city administrator. So I think it's great. I think it's a great little conversation piece, and they'll come up with the right answers. Whoever, if it's Matt or John at the time, so be it. Okay, any other questions for utility billing? Okay, let's go on to our next item, which is strategic action plan updates.
Just the probably most notable thing is if you drive down City Hall and look at the utility billing, they have started doing the installation of the windows above, and all the windows are actually being replaced in what's being called the Bennett building. So that was on one of these strategic items. This is a phase 1 where we replace all the windows. There is a phase 2 and a phase 3 if the city council chooses to move forward. But just wanted to give you a quick update. If you come by and see those new windows, they look really nice.
Okay. All right. Let's go to our city administrator report. John Walsh.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So yes, it's been continues to be extraordinarily busy with all the growth and activity around the city. Tonight we have a public forum at 6 o'clock to hear input about the Riverwalk project, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that's been a real active project. There is a survey out right now. The survey is set up in the gazebo if you want to take it manually, or it's online. And our communication staff has done a wonderful job of getting the message out, doing some paid boosts, and we have a pretty good, really, for only being out for a week, we have a really great response. So we'll get into the details of that later this evening, but wanted to let you know that was out there and then it's coming. And as part of the overall waterfront project, one of the tasks with the street project was to look at the alignment of the roadways, both whether the First Street is closer to the bluff or closer out to the middle, having development on both sides. And part of that has brought out developer interviews. So we've had 5 developers come out to have a look at the property and really get pretty excited about the development opportunity here, not just being relied on as a development resource, but they're showing genuine interest in being a part of the development at some point. So that's really encouraging news, because if you rewind the clock a few years back when we were first went out for the Riverwalk qualifications, we got 0 developers. We did a pretty extensive outreach. We interviewed with developers. We just couldn't get anybody at that time, and the climate's really changed. We did start working with Tokla Development, and what we were looking for then was a master developer, somebody that would come in, work with the city to develop the entire site in one piece. And what Tokla brought was a good development proposal, but it wasn't the whole site. They were interested in a hotel and a mixed use building and a restaurant, but that was not all of the property. So we're evaluating on a different lens is the ever-changing effects of BOLI determinations. And we do these private public partnerships. There's a process where any project that has public money in it gets evaluated by the Bureau of Labor and Industries, and they determine whether it's a prevailing wage project. And there's two components to prevailing wage. There's a residential, and then the non-residential or commercial scales. And what that does is has a tremendous, it does get prevailed, which more and more projects are. Independence barely made it through. They probably wouldn't today. Eugene's project lost on its second appeal, I believe, was for not being prevailing. It adds, on a $30 million project, it adds like $6 million to the project in labor costs. And so we're being very stepwise in how we proceed with this development, and looking at, right now the city's role is being the master developer. We're dividing the roads, we're putting in the public infrastructure, we're doing all those things, which is likely to have impacts on prevailing wage. So as this unfolds, we really want to get tuned into, maybe it is a good idea to revisit a master developer RFQ and go back again, given the high level of interest in our riverfront here. That wouldn't mean we wouldn't still have the public walkways along the road. We'd still have the roadways, we'd still have the public components of that, but we would be involved in a different way. So I've been engaging in some discussions with people that are very as close to that as can be, and hope to have some more information for you sometime in the future.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the work that we've done already would not be to waste, because these are the first steps in development.
Not at all. No, not at all.
Yes, I just want to make that clear. I just want to make that clear, because the way it sounds to the average person probably is that this is like a restart, and it's not a restart.
No, not at all. It wouldn't
certainly
slow anything down at all. But
just to follow up on that, we've had from the get-go, we had many discussions regarding the issue of would we be a community like Seaside, Oregon, and lease the land, or will we outright sell it? What's the feelings at this point?
Those are lease, sell. Those are all.
They're all options.
They're all options. Sell at market rate, sell at a reduced rate to get more of a public investment out of a project. Those are all on the table.
And I would just encourage council to look at the property really close as far as opportunity zones and our urban renewal and what could be done there. Could be a wonderful thing with a private-public partnership, and with opportunity zones, which are a tax break from the feds and state, which are not in place much longer, but would still be good. I encourage you just to look at that a little bit and try to put yourself in maybe developer's shoes and looking at the whole scope of work of what we could do to maybe help along the progress of those properties. It is also within not only the opportunity zone, it is our urban renewal. So we get 100% of whatever is built. We want brand new there. We get 100% of that tax. So we're kind of feeding a machine there. Kind of complex. There's a lot to it. It's a lot to understand. And it's also an enterprise zone. If there was a business paying over $50,000, they could get a tax break for up to 3 to 5 years. There's so much there. And this is also our industrial property. I would definitely encourage you, if you do not know about it, I can't give you all the information, but talk to John or Matt Brown, and they'll scratch the surface on it, but it goes a lot more deeper than that.
And if you're ever if anyone is ever in a tourist type city, very similar to kind of what we're building down on or thinking about in terms of our vision, stop in and talk to a city manager. Seaside is the greatest, opened my eyes a whole lot, because they own the property and they lease it, and that's their long-term, that for them, that's their long-term arrangement to continually pay the bills and continually pay the bills. It was way interesting to me. So there's a lot of things that that's on the table that we have to decide. And John is working diligently to give us the best options. And so I would suggest, as we do travel around and the COVID restrictions start to open up, make certain that we get a good feel for the visioning of that property down there. That's just a comment of advice and encouragement.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Seaside model, and Larry Lehman, the one that was the architect of that when they first did that, he's now retired. But yeah, it's been a good business decision for the city. So
sorry to interrupt your report, John.
Oh, I mean, this is just the things we're working on as far as the complexities of the riverfront. I don't want to get too deep with it, but at the June 2nd meeting, we should have the timber bids in for the Smith timber sale, the 90 some acres up in the Salmonberry property. We've got bids to look at for that. Making some progress on the Main Street program and working with the Main Street folks to job description. Rachel Berry mostly has been kind of the lead with that. It's going along fairly well.
Hey, John, I need to attend that meeting, and could you give me a reminder on that? I know I promised I would, and I know it's the fourth Tuesday, I do believe.
Correct.
But just a email reminder or phone call,
Sure.
Please.
Yeah,
because it is vitally important. Main Street is really important to our community.
So we are working this American Recovery Plan Act funding that the city is going to be receiving, $2.8 million over the next 2 years, has 151 pages of guidance on that about what it can be spent for. And so we are doing the seminars, getting the abbreviated notes, and trying to really look at what types of programs, investments, activities we can make with those fundings over the next couple of years. There's some of it's programmatic, you can support programs. We believe there's an infrastructure piece of it for purchasing infrastructure, water, sewer, broadband types of investments. And stay tuned, more to come with that. So there was a really nice article in the Chronicle about the city's investment in parks and recreation, and lists out all the programs and activities if you didn't get a chance. It's above the fold, and it's always nice to be above the fold for a good reason, with a smile on your face rather than something else. But and lastly, a placeholder, maybe not for discussion right now, but I wanted to not let it go, was that the resolution tonight for censorship. When you're thinking about that, there's a council liaison role at the library, and having the resolution has centralized communications with the city administrator or designee, and just what you want that to look like. So I don't know, maybe don't need to talk about it right now, but maybe think about it from now until the meeting. So.
Okay, definitely can do that. All right.
One very last thing is that we have a public works, we have a public hearing for an annexation at 6:45. That should really only take about 5 minutes tonight. So if the public comment is good, which I hope it is, and it's really a listening session, that we kind of crowd that up to the 7 o'clock hour to let people hear what they have to say about the riverfront.
All right, Councilor Chilton, I believe you were jumping in there. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if there was an update on the firework funds, if that has been received or.
I actually called Bill or Tim, and he said, yes, it's there. We have to submit the letter. There's 2 different funding sources. So yes, the fireworks are going forward. Yee-hoo, everything's going forward. And there's going to actually be an article going out this afternoon, because I asked council for approval for Crystal to write a letter that we're trying to turn this over and make it a community event again. And she did a wonderful job set up at the meeting that we had. So did John Walsh and a number of old committee members, and also Heather from Western Fireworks, Heather Gobey. And she said we are really in a unique position to have the funding. We have and being able to allow somebody the ability to take over. She said they are in a very unique position to make this work if somebody were to step up, in her words. Correct, John?
Yeah, that's true. And the reason that we don't have the Comcast wanted to have the resolution or the new ordinance complete before we did the funding, or they did the funding. And if there was an error on their end as far as the corporate title, so there's amendment, it actually gets approved tonight on second reading. And we'll make that request, and they're ready to make their.
Yeah, so we'll be approving that tonight. And then, yes, again, thank you to Comcast. I mean, it was, frustrating to see them go, but we understood why, and they stepped up, they did. So thank you for asking, Jessica. Counselor Chilton. Okay, John, anything else?
Not for now.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take our 10-minute break. We're going to be going into, before I adjourn, I'm going to announce that we're going to be going into ORS. Let me get the right number here. 192.6602E, real property transaction, and H, consulting with counsel, potential litigation. And we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting, but we'll be going into that. We'll take a 10-minute break, okay?
See you in 10.
Yep.